Hey, Five Finance family, welcome to Flip It with Samara, the power of tax planning. So, on tonight, we have a special guest who is going to be walking us through the importance of time management and making time for our dreams, for our goals. But before we get into that, I know y'all missed me last week. So, last week, I took a vacay. Who would know, right? I guess it was time for me to take a vacay because I was getting kind of snippy with everybody in the household, so they were grateful that I took a vacay. And I needed that time to just reset, relax, get my thoughts together so that I can come before you fresh and renewed. And so I advise you to do that, especially entrepreneurs. We're going to be talking next month about health. And so a part of just maintaining your overall health is making time for yourself. Which is why we're also talking about time management. And tonight, I'm sure we're going to get into that as well, like making time for yourself. But it's definitely important that you make that time for you to take and reset, relax, regroup, do whatever you need to do so you can always put your best self forward, right? So on tonight, Hayleigh, I had the pleasure of meeting her in a Facebook group, and she is a podcaster, and she's going to be sharing with us her journey to starting her podcast. Sorry, not sure why my phone went off. But she's going to be sharing with us her journey as how she started to do podcasting full time and how she's helping other people also do podcasting full time as well, right? So make sure that you have your questions ready, your comments ready. We want you to be engaged, right? This is a live show. So we want you to be engaged in tonight. Ask your questions as you have them, and we'll be sure to address them during the live. We'll make time for you, all right? So without further ado, we're going to bring Hayleigh onto the stage. Hey, Hayleigh, welcome.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Yes. Welcome tonight to the Five Finance family and our live streaming, which is also our podcast. You know, I kind of always use my whatever I'm doing. I like to get multiple uses out of them because I'm an entrepreneur and that's what we're all about. Um, so, welcome to the show. Tonight, we're going to be talking about time management. And so, what I wanted you to do is first introduce yourself and then we'll get right into it if that's okay.
Great. Yeah, so absolutely. My name is Hayleigh Hayhurst. I'm super excited to be here today. I'm the owner of Espresso Podcast Production, a full service podcast agency specializing in editing, marketing, and strategy. So I started my business 2.5 years ago. I've been in the podcast industry for about, I want to say, 5 or 6 years now. But I help businesses and entrepreneurs really grow their profits and increase their visibility with the help of podcasting.
And that's super dope. What I'm seeing in this whole podcasting arena is a lot of people are doing it now. And I know I started last year, but I feel
Mhm.
like when COVID hit and people were like stuck in their homes, not much to do, I think a
Yep.
lot of people say, you know what, I just need to talk. And so a lot
Yeah.
of people started doing podcasts or YouTube channels just so that they can talk and have that interaction with people that they weren't normally getting. So I do believe like there's a big movement for it right now. So I
Mhm.
do believe like now is the time, Five Finance family, if you were thinking about it. We have an expert in the house, so definitely have your questions ready to ask her. But I definitely think that it is an opportune time for people who were considering it to get into podcasting. So, you say you've been doing this for a little over how long now?
So I've been in my business full time for 2.5 years,
Uh
but
huh.
my journey to podcasting started back when I was, I think, a sophomore or junior in college. And
Okay.
I had a podcast with my friend then.
That's super dope. So when you started in college, was it just something that you were doing? Oh, I just want to talk to people. I think I have something to say. Or did you know that this was something that you wanted to do full time?
So at the time, it was just a hobby. And
Okay.
the topic, it's so funny. I talked about pro wrestling, like
What?
WWE. I know. And So there weren't a lot of female podcasters in that industry, but me
Right?
and my best friend decided that like we both had this passion for it,
Right?
and podcasts were just kind of starting to get, well known back then.
Right? Right?
And so we thought, why not start a podcast about this? And the funny thing is, she still does it to this day, and she's absolutely killing it. When I moved up to
Really?
Seattle, I stepped away, but she's had this podcast since we started back in 2018.
Wow. And in looking at you, Hayleigh, I would not have thought that that would have been a topic.
Yeah, I know. Me either. But it was so crazy because that hobby that I thought was just for fun with my
Right.
friend, just me and my friend catching up, turned out to be so much more. And
Right.
when it came to starting my business, I realized like, wow, I know how to do all of this. Like I taught
Wow.
myself all of this. And so I was able to like sharpen up a lot of those skills and build my business full time out of something so silly. And I just think that's like the coolest part of entrepreneurship.
Oh, absolutely. Like entrepreneurs, we're kind of like building things as we go, right? Like there's really you can have like a basis or a starting point or some guidance, but every entrepreneur has to find their own unique way, right?
Mhm.
Towards their success. And I feel like that's something that you have to create for you. Like I can't tell you how to successfully run your business in a way that's going to be healthy for you and sustainable. And I feel like you wouldn't be able to tell me how to do mine either. You know what I mean? Like I can
Right,
give you
exactly.
tips, but I really feel like it's a personal journey. So with that being said, right? We're talking about time management. And so
Mhm.
when we talk about time management, it's all about putting things in priority, right? So tell us, you had a unique perspective that I never considered, but you talked about prioritizing your dreams.
Mhm.
So tell us how you were able to prioritize your dream of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So when I started my business, honestly, it wasn't a dream of mine to start a business at all. I had just recently graduated from college right into the pandemic. And at that time, I was recently laid off, just got my degree, and was living at home with my mom. And I was like, this is not what I went to school for. This is not what I, had my dream set on. So I moved up here to Seattle, and one thing led to the next, and I just got my first client. And from there, I kept getting referrals. And I had never owned a business before. I had never take any business classes before either. So it definitely was all a learning curve, but I was able to really decide what meant a lot to me. So the first thing I did was actually hire a mindset coach. And from there, I was able to set my goals and decide like what type of clients do I want to bring on? How much time do I need to spend doing this task, all of those different things. And really set my dreams and then figure out the process to actually do it. So for me, it was I never wanted to work 40 hours a week. I never wanted
Mm,
to be hustling and grinding. And, I have friends that they're like, you don't work 40 hours a week. Like, I'm working 60. And
wow.
for me, that's never a dream of mine. And
Right.
I'm like happy to say for the past 2.5 years of owning my business, I've never had to do that. And I've been supporting myself full time with this the whole time.
And for those of you who, I'm going to give you a little bit of background. Okay, so Hayleigh lives in Seattle, Washington. Seattle is not a cheap place to live. Okay, first and foremost. So, full disclosure,
But
if you're able to be an entrepreneur in a city like Seattle and you're not working 60 plus hours a week doing it, like we have to know the secret sauce, Hayleigh. Like, what is the secret sauce? Because, yes, as an entrepreneur, I feel like when you first enter into entrepreneurship, there is the notion that you're going to have sleepless nights. Everybody says it, right?
Mhm.
You're going to have sleepless nights. You got to give away your personal life. I hustled, I grind for like 2 years until I built my company up, and then I could finally reap my rewards. But it sounds like you took an approach of, hey, you know what? I need to prioritize certain things because, work life balance really matters to me. And
Yeah.
in order to make sure my overall health is intact, this is how I have to plan. And these are the steps and the processes that I have to put in place. So, like, walk us through how that happened.
So I definitely have had those sleepless nights of
Okay.
like, oh, what's going to work? What am I going to do next? But, and this sounds so basic, but I've just always trusted myself, knowing that I would be able to pull through and make enough money and do this
Okay.
and that. And really, a lot of it comes down to the mindset coach that I hired when I first started my business.
Mm,
Like, really being in that mindset of trusting myself and knowing like this is all going to work out. And I've had months where my income drops by over $1,000, like when
mhm,
contracts end and waiting for new ones to start.
mhm.
But I really built my brand in a way that like my personality is all over it. So when
Okay.
I start working with clients, they like my personality, and that's why we work together for, years to come, right? Like almost all of my clients, my longest client started me when I first started my business. And so really it's been a lot of that. And for time management, going back to that, really making sure that I'm not taking on too many clients that I can't go above and beyond for
Mm,
them, but making sure that I have enough to really be able to, make the money I need to make the impact I want to make, all of these things. But really, it is all in the mindset.
absolutely. And I wanna like pause right there when you talked about like taking on so many clients, like not taking on too many clients,
Mhm.
because I follow that same guideline.
Mhm.
So here's the thing: if you take on too many clients, somebody's going to suffer. Yes,
Yep.
either yourself because you're going to burn
Usually me.
out, right?
Yeah.
Or your clients can suffer too because you're not able to dedicate the time that is
Mhm.
required to make sure that they are where they need to be and to make sure that you're helping lend to their success. And so that's how I look at it. I tell this to everybody. All money is not good money, right? So you have to make sure that when you are strategically aligning yourself with clients, that it's somebody that you can also like edify or help in some way, and it's not going to be a burden to you or overwhelming to you.
Mhm.
And that's a true testament to you being a entrepreneur that like really cares about the success of their client, especially the longevity that you're saying you have. I
Yep.
too have a client that has been with me. Well, actually, I have two clients that started out with me and they're still here to this day.
I love
And
that.
even when they had like, they'll have ebbs and flows in their business, like they wanted to keep me because, like you said, the relationship that was built, the personality that you bring to the table, right? People want to connect with people that they like. So, I mean, there's no way of dressing that up. It's just what it is.
Exactly. They have to like you and they want to, sometimes I have meekly meetings with my clients or
Yes.
talk to them, you know, all the time. And if they
Right.
didn't like me, like they wouldn't want to hear it from me. And so,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's a big part.
Absolutely. And communication is the key. I'm very transparent with my clients too. Like sometimes I have to check myself. I don't know if you have to do the same thing. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. It's a client. I can't share too much. But it feels easy, right? Because, I always say 500 is family because I do see like my clients, they're part of this family. They're on this journey with me. And I feel like when you have clients as an entrepreneur, they're on the journey with you. You know what I mean? They're
Mhm.
taking that journey with you. So you're investing in them, and they're investing in you as well. So it is a definitely a mutually beneficial relationship. All right. So we have
Absolutely.
one question I want to make sure that we get to before we move on. So, Samurai is asking, has your degree helped you in your podcasting journey? That's a good question.
That is a good question. I've actually never been asked that. So I have a background in journalism and I minored in film and political science. So I just was really doing everything in college. But through journalism, I
Yeah.
thought I was going to be doing, writing and focusing more on social media. And while I'm more in a, talking type of, career now, my background definitely has helped me with my interviewing skills. That's a
Mm,
big one. It
right,
definitely helped me with my podcast marketing side, with building that community on Instagram and Facebook, and
right,
just generally like knowing how to talk to people. I'm a very social person,
right,
but I think having like all that background of interviewing people and talking to various different, teachers and
right.
internships I had, that definitely helped me out a lot. And when I started my podcast that I had back in college, I was really lucky because my school had a podcasting studio. And
Oh,
that
dope.
really got me started because I don't know if I'd be able to figure it all out when I was what, like 19 or
Right,
18 or
right,
I don't know. I don't know if I'd have the time to figure it
right,
all out is the thing.
right.
And so having that all there set up for me was very helpful in starting me with the journey. So absolutely, my college degree really did help.
Well, that's interesting because I mean, I never even thought to ask that. So thank you, Samurai, for asking that.
Yeah.
I know for me, like, I absolutely did not go to school for anything to do with podcasting or
Mhm.
journalism or public speaking or any of that. I think mine just comes from having to present financials and talk about different things in accounting, which is what has kind of forced me out of my shell because I will say
Mhm.
this most accountants that I know, okay, I can't speak for all accountants, but most accountants that I know are mostly introverts. And
Mhm.
I am an introvert, believe it or not. People do not believe me, but I promise you I am. I don't get recharged from talking. Like, I don't get recharged from this. I get recharged from just, spending time with me and, you know,
Absolutely.
pouring into me. But it definitely, like podcasting and just doing lives, Instagram lives, Facebook lives, reels, whatever, TikTok. Like it definitely can take you out of your comfort zone if you're a person that is not accustomed, right, to
Mhm.
getting in front of people, interviewing people, talking to people, but in a good way, I feel like, because it definitely gives you skills, especially if you're an entrepreneur, that you're going to need. You're
Yeah,
absolutely going to need them.
definitely.
So thank you so much for sharing that with us. So because you are using your degree and it seems like you are very successful at what you do, we definitely want you to give us some tips because I know that there's a lot of people who are thinking about becoming a podcaster or maybe starting their own YouTube channel. So if you don't mind, give us 3 tips that would help us be successful without being overworked because that is the key that I hope you heard, Five Finance family. She is not working 60 hours a week.
No. No, yeah. So I would definitely start thinking about number one would be what topic do you actually want to talk about? When you go into podcasting, you want to be going in it for the long run. There's so many podcasts out there that have started through the pandemic, like we were saying, where, maybe they launch and then they put out 10 episodes and then quit.
Mm,
Okay, you want to be one of those that last a long time. And so picking a topic that you really, really are interested in is super important. And I have a lot of clients that we're trying to decide like, oh, how far should I niche down? Like, how far do I actually need to niche
mm,
down in this industry? And honestly, what I tell them is, how many conversations about this one topic do you think you can have? So for me, my podcast, Employee to Boss, is with other entrepreneurs who
mhm,
have podcasts. And so I talk to them, of course, about their podcast, but about their business. And so
right.
that opens me up to a lot more conversations. So, number one would be decide on a topic that you actually absolutely are obsessed with. Number two, I would say would be really to just sit down and decide, back to time management, how much time can you allocate to a podcast?
Mm,
Because it is time consuming. And there's no right or wrong way to do it. You don't need to put out one episode every week. You could do maybe two a month. You can do one a month. I know someone, his name is Gordon Firemark, and he has the podcast. He's the podcast lawyer. He has had his podcast for, I think, like 13 years, and he puts out one episode a month. And that
Wow.
has really built him this longevity, right, of being
Wow.
able to sustain this podcast. And
Right.
so figuring out whatever system works for you that's consistent. Consistency can mean anything. Just
Mm,
making sure it works for you is the most important part. So if you know you can't support 4 episodes, you're going to burn out super easily. So, make sure that you can do like maybe one a month to start, two a month to start. Or on the other hand, I know someone who has 5 episodes a week, and she started her podcast about a year ago, and she's already in episode like 300 or something.
oh my
And
gosh.
she's an extrovert, and so that's how she really recharges herself.
Right.
And then number 3, I would say start getting comfortable talking about your story, about yourself, talking to people. And my number one tip for this is whoever wants to start a podcast, what I want you to do is grab your phone and go into your memos, like the voice memos app, and just talk for like 10 minutes and listen back to yourself. Some
Mm,
of us really hate the sound of our voices, but that's kind of sad. Like, just listen to yourself and understand, like, you have an amazing story to tell,
right.
and your voice is unique to you, and all of these different things. You just have to start getting comfortable with it. And then you can definitely have a successful podcast with, those 3 steps once you think those through.
And you know what? It seems so simple, right?
Mhm.
That I feel like somebody's gonna miss it. A lot of people miss it, and that's why they burn out.
Yeah.
That's why they
Yeah,
stop
for
doing their
sure.
podcast. But that lawyer that is doing one podcast a month, that is
Isn't
crazy. But you know what? If the
it
content is
insane?
good, the people are going to be there, right? They
Yeah.
can count on him being consistent. He's going to give you that
Mhm.
one good podcast a month, and I guarantee they show up for him.
And
So
they do
yeah,
every month.
see, I'm telling you. So yeah, you're right. It's about being consistent. It's about building that following and showing up for the people. Like if you build this following, show up for them. Be
Mhm.
consistent. So I love those 3 things to talk about something that you love, that you're passionate about. That's why mine is about tax planning. Every off now and then, I kind of divert to topics that are relative to me, right?
Mhm.
Also, because I understand that tax planning is something I'm passionate about, but not everybody thinks it's sexy. So that's why, like this month, we talked about time management, but I did get tax planning into a lot of my conversations. But it's definitely focusing on time management because I think that is so key, especially when you're tax planning. Because if you're not
Mhm.
tax planning in a timely manner, you can find yourself paying a lot more than what you should.
Mhm.
So great 3 tips that I'm sure a lot of us who are on the fence of if you want to be a podcaster or not, I hope you all were listening. I hope you were taking notes because those are definitely 3 great tips to get your foot in the door so that you can start your journey to being a podcaster. And then hopefully you can be on Haley's channel.
Yes, I would love that.
Right. So we have a question. I want to pause for the cause. Let's take the question. So Wayne is asking, Haley, where do you see the art of podcasting taking you?
That's a great question. And really, podcasting I see as one of those tools that really sustains you for a long time. And what my main goal with podcasting has been since, I started was really amplifying voices that need to be heard. There's so many people out there who are on TikTok or YouTube and just sharing their opinions and their voices, and maybe we agree with them, maybe we don't, but they are being heard. And so, what I really want to empower people, and this is where I want podcasting to take me, what I want to do is empower people to also share their voices
Mhm.
because everyone's voice deserves to be heard. Once
Right.
you're confident enough to get your opinions out there, definitely don't hold yourself back by not doing it. there, like I said, there are so many people out there who are like screaming and telling these stories, and
Mm-hmm.
just because they're being heard doesn't mean it's the truth. And so the more voices we can get out there, the more opinions we can get out there, the better our world will be. You know, I will listen to the opinion of everyone. Doesn't mean I agree with everyone, but
There
I
you
will listen
go.
and I'll be like, okay, interesting take. And then I will go and try to see someone who maybe doesn't agree with them. And
Right.
so, really, that's the power of podcasting. I think that with podcasting, it's really about growing your community too. So, a podcast is more than just a podcast, it's also the community that you're growing on
Correct.
social media, you know, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube,
Correct.
wherever it is, you're really connecting with these people who are coming to listen to you because they really like you and they like the opinions that you have and share. And so that's kind of where I see podcasting taking me. I know podcasting will be around for years and
Oh
years to
yeah.
come. I don't know what could replace it. I know Clubhouse came in for a little bit, but honestly, nothing's going to take away podcasting.
Nah. And I was on Clubhouse and I got on stage a few times.
Mhm.
Some people
Me
invited
too.
me on stage a few times, but I was like, it's not my deal. Like, I don't, I don't know. I just wasn't, I don't know. So I get notifications every once in a while. And if it's somebody like that I really, like to hear, like I'll jump on just to hear what they're saying.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's not my deal. But again,
Yeah.
I tried it because of a coach that I had, and she was like,
Okay.
maybe you should try Clubhouse. And she was, giving me some ideas. And so I tried it, but I was like, not for me. Um, but I love I agree with you about, podcasting being around for the long haul and it's here to stay. I absolutely agree with you. And, going back to your earlier comment of, listening to yourself, recording yourself, and listening to yourself, like I hate my voice. I absolutely hate my voice.
You sound
But
great.
but I still believe that I was given a voice for a reason, and I have something
Mhm.
to say, and I feel like what I have to say is important and it can help others. And so that's what has motivated me to get out of my comfort zone and come and do this every single week because I love sharing what I have learned with others in hopes that it can help them and maybe avoid some of the mistakes I made. So that's what I'm all about. That's why I love doing what I do, like showing up on Facebook Live, doing podcasts, showing up on YouTube Live. That's why I do what I do. So definitely going back to what you said, find your passion, right? So we do have one question or two questions, sorry. So first up is Kevin. He says, "How do you monetize podcasts?" Kevin is
Mm.
saying, "Show me the money." Okay.
It's a great question. So, there's a couple ways that I talk to my clients about monetizing their podcast. And keep in mind, I typically work with businesses and entrepreneurs. So, most of my podcasts that I work with are business ones. So there's really two ways to monetize. There's you can get ads, which I do help my clients do. I help them get those sponsorships all the time depending on, their niche and what their goal is. But the other way that I really love for business owners is put your own commercials in your podcast. Monetize your own business. Use your podcast as a tool to promote your business. And
Mm,
so, what you can do is maybe you have an offer. Like, I have courses, and what I do is I record a commercial for my courses and place it in the middle of my podcast. We're so quick to accept money from big brands like I hear HelloFresh all the time and things like that. And we're so quick to put those in our podcast, but really think about like how do I want my podcast to make me money? And for me, it's usually by getting more clients. So my podcast is really out there for people who want to work with me to come and listen to my editing style. They can go on Instagram and see how I promote my own show. And that way, that's how it's monetizing me, right? It's really making me money
right.
by showing my audience if they want to work with me or not.
That's super dope. And that's super smart. So, Kevin, I hope you took note, right? Definitely monetize yourself. Bet on you. I say that all the time.
Mhm.
Always bet on you.
Exactly.
So definitely super, super dope. Now we have another question. I want to make sure I address this because we got to wrap it up. So Samurai's asking, Hayleigh, for those who are thinking about podcasting, can you give a list of items you would need to get started? Oh, that's good.
That is a good question. So I like to start really low cost because podcasting really takes time and it can get pricey. But here's some of the tools that I love that I really recommend to all podcasters. So, number one, get a microphone. I got this microphone a while ago. It's time for me to upgrade soon, but it has taken me through my podcasting journey so far. And so, this is just a blue snowball microphone. I think it's like $100 on Amazon or something. The next tool that you're going to want to use is something to actually record with. And so, for that, I typically use Zoom. I like it because it gets the video. There's some with other better audio qualities like Riverside, but Zoom is just very universal and easy. And so that's what I use. And then for editing, I have been absolutely loving this program called Descript, and
Mm,
you can edit your video and audio at the same time. I think it's like $15 a month or
mm-hmm,
something, but I've been loving that recently.
mm-hmm.
Typically, I use Adobe Audition, but for my own podcast and some of my clients, I've been testing out Descript, and it's so good. And so
Mm-hmm.
from there you're going to want to find a audio, a podcasting host, and you
Mm-hmm.
can use something like Anchor, which is free. And from there, that's really all you need: a microphone, a way to record an idea, of course, and
Right,
a way to edit and post it. And
right.
from there, you can have a successful podcast.
And Descript, doesn't that also allow you to like take out the words so like you can create like a
Mhm.
blog or something from it too? Or
Yeah, so it
yeah,
transcribes it,
there you
and the
go.
way you edit is really cool. You can literally see the words and just delete them.
See, super dope, people.
Mhm.
So definitely, thank you so much for sharing this. I feel like Five Finance Family, if you were on the fence, you definitely have a great start. But I would encourage y'all to connect with Hayleigh if you want to do a deeper dive into this. So Hayleigh, tell the people how they can connect with you.
Absolutely. So you can come find me on Instagram. My Instagram is Espresso Podcast Production. You can also go to my website and send me an email from there. You can also see my courses and some of my services. And until the end of September, but for the listeners that come find me from this podcast, I'll extend it to the end of October.
Ooh,
I'm offering $200 off my podcast launch package. So that is where I help you launch your podcast and basically do everything for you. So all you have to do is press record, send it over to me, and you will be listed on all of the podcast platforms. Very easy.
wow, that is super easy. And Five Finance Family, y'all should be honored. Okay. Hayleigh extended that super great deal for you. So make sure you're taking advantage of it. Make sure that you are contacting Hayleigh if you are someone who is interested in starting your own podcast. All right. Now is the time. Strike while the iron is hot, because I definitely know that a lot of people, even a lot of my clients are thinking about doing this, like they're going
Mhm.
into podcasting. So definitely can be something lucrative for your business and for yourself. So thank you so much, Hayleigh, for taking time out of your schedule and sharing with us not only like how we can get started, but how we can get started without burning out. Because I think like that is what is super dope.
Mhm.
And now that we have this strategy in place and we have this plan, now it can just help everything, move a little smoother. And then once they connect with you, it's going to be skyrocketing, right? Going to take off. Um,
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
Yeah, this is super, super fun. And thank you, for Finance Family, for all your questions and your comments throughout the live. Hayleigh, I'm going to ask you to wait backstage, but you can say goodbye one final time to the Five Finance Family before you leave.
Sure. Bye. Thanks, everyone.
All right, Five Finance family. Thank y'all so much for joining tonight. And thank you for being flexible with the time. I know we started a little late. We started at 6:30 instead of 6. But we had some new people in the audience, so I'm kind of glad to see that the new people came on. So maybe this time, time management it's a thing that we all work with every day, or deal with every day, especially as entrepreneurs. And you have to be able to pivot, right? You have to be able to move and accommodate whatever schedules you have to accommodate to. So it's about being flexible. So tonight was definitely a great conversation. I've learned a lot. Even though I've had my podcast channel for close to a year now, definitely I was taking notes, just like I hope you were taking notes as well. And so the month of October, we're going to pivot to another theme. So we talked about, I'm going to walk through what we've talked about so far this year, because this year we were focusing on the word wealth, right? So we talked about wisdom, we talked about education, we talked about your assets, we talked about legacy, building your legacy, and then we talked about time management for September. And now we're going to be talking about your health in October. So join us for October as we have guests and maybe just myself, and we're going to be talking about health as it pertains to your finances. And then also just some overall health things, especially as entrepreneurs. We need to make sure that we are making time for ourselves and that we are on this entrepreneurship journey in a healthy manner. I definitely don't want you to be burnt out, and I definitely don't want you to be stressed out. And I'm going to share my story of some of my health challenges that I saw I no longer had once I started this entrepreneurship journey. So definitely tune in next month as the topic will be health, right? So if you liked what you heard tonight, definitely make sure you are subscribing to our YouTube channel. So hit that like button for this episode and make sure that you are subscribing so that you can get notifications every time we go live. Also, make sure that you are listening to our podcast. So we repurpose this. We repurpose our YouTube and our Facebook Live, and we stream on podcast platforms: Audible, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. So while you are driving into work or while you are at your desk working, you can definitely pop in those earbuds and listen to us throughout the day. And if you want to work with me personally, definitely visit our website, www.5finance.com. Visit the booking page, and you can book a free consultation with yours truly. So we are still doing tax prep consultations as well as accounting consultations for my entrepreneurs, my small business owners. So definitely make sure that you connect with us in some way, shape, or form. And we appreciate you, Five Finance family. Thank you so much for tuning in on this Tuesday evening. You all have a blessed and wonderful Tuesday evening. Until next time, see you later.